My name's Ross Volk. I'm the Managing Director of MSC Cruises South Africa. I'm really excited to be an attendee at the TBCSA Tourism Conference from the 18th to 20th of September. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all there and to interacting and engaging with you. From a cruise tourism perspective globally, it's one of the biggest contributors to tourism. It's in excess of 30 million passengers a year, and you are looking at a shift towards the US market, which is not uncommon. They're the biggest per capita cruises in the world. There are some restrictions in Europe in terms of number of vessels per port, but I think that this is going to be something that's overcome due to the popularity of cruising. From a local perspective, we continue to see an expansion, particularly within Cape Town, from an international cruise destination. And I think the positivity for South Africa is that as long as we get to still be up there as Cape Town, the second most liked city in the world to visit, you're going to see this positivity of cruise tourism coming into the country. We're seeing an influx. It's great. It's positive for the economy. It's great news for South Africa. Both Durban and Cape Town are booming, and it's a good idea for us to continue that. But we need to look at where to from here in terms of our infrastructure development. The traditional cruiser, if you took a look back at, all the way back to the 1900s, you're talking about someone that was probably in the higher echelons of society, elderly, had time on their hands. But cruising there was much longer in duration and a lot more kind of elitist. Okay, that's evolved immeasurably over the last couple of years, and we're seeing a huge trend towards the family kind of environment, the average age being 45 of people on board the vessel. Our certain greatest concentration of people in terms of age demographic is sitting between sort of 18 to 59. That's the biggest genre of people within that space. You're also taking a look at a lot more women traveling, so 60% female versus 40% male, which is interesting. Also demonstrating potentially that women are more involved in the buying decisions at a household level to decide to go on a holiday, which is something that's important for us to look at. And I think those kind of things globally are also seen. It's no longer just an elitist kind of time. You've got great opportunities for flexibility. The internet on the ship allows you the opportunity to welcome the businesscation and or the bizcation or whatever the buzzword is. There's the mini cruise, there's the longer cruises. The opportunity to have your kids on board is also something that's very valuable. As time is a scarce commodity, it's important for us to have the ability to have our children close to us as well. So I think those are the common trends we're seeing across the board, and we're certainly activating it. From our perspective, we've always had great kids club. We've got Starlink on our ships now. So from an internet perspective, we've got better fluidity. And looking at some of the destinations and things that will provide us the opportunity to cater for the bucket lists of the generation of 30 to 50, or 30 to 60. Talking about the orders of magnitude of billions and billions of rands in terms of knock-on tourism that benefits from port fees to provisions to fuel to guest spend in the various cities and locations. And I think that's something we need to push as a sell for South Africa, is that our destination represents a one-stop shop for everything. You've got great beaches, you've got great forests, great safaris, great tourist attractions in your port cities in respective to all of it. The diversity, the biodiversity, the cultural diversity that South Africa has is a great opportunity for us to push it. So we need to magnify our impact in terms of that level. We need to grow that kind of downstream impact significantly. But you are talking billions and billions of rands in terms of capital injection into the country in relation to the knock-on spend. So, tourism for me is a global space, is the secret key to success for alleviating South Africans' poverty and alleviating a job consideration. Because as a tourist sector, you want to deal with people. You don't want to do AI. You don't necessarily want to engage with a computer. You want to engage with people and experience the culture. So it's a great opportunity for us to utilize that. It doesn't require a rocket scientist degree. It doesn't require you to go to university. It requires us as South Africans to be authentic. It requires us to be people. In terms of cruise tourism, obviously the more you bring into the country from a volume perspective, you've got to cater for them. Buses, tourist attractions, shop stalls, curio places, cultural markets, the thing like that. And then obviously from a specific MSC perspective, we are really, really trying hard to push for a big portion of our crew to come from South Africa. So this year, for example, we've got a target of 2,000 South Africans. Next year it's 3,000. And by the end of the 2020s, we're looking to have 5,000 South Africans on board our vessels globally. So, there's a real push and drive towards wanting to create jobs from a South African perspective. And again, our specific mantra and target is that we need to focus on those communities that were previously disadvantaged, okay, is the majority of who we want to bring on board. And our target focus is in accessing those markets and bringing them to the vessel to allow them the opportunity to see it and to grow it. You've got a capacity constraint within Cape Town. You've also got a capacity constraint in Durban, and where you call at, those are big ticket items that we need to address at the conference and also with the respective stakeholders, being Department of Public Works, Department of Home Affairs, Department of Tourism, and also then the security cluster also needs to come to the party in terms of that. So you can't only consider the infrastructure development at a port level, you also need to look at it how you accommodate the guests coming off the ship within the respective cities that you're calling at. So you have a two-stage infrastructure development perspective, and unfortunately it can't operate on a let's build it so that they come. You need to look at it as a holistic development strategy. So if I take Durban, for example, you have a great port facility with a brand new cruise terminal that was inaugurated by the president last year. And, where do they go once they've arrived? How do you go and accommodate these people in this environment within Durban? Where do you take 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 passengers in that space? So you've got to have the port development, but you also got to have the infrastructure development within the city and within the destinations. Cape Town, a little bit luckier in the fact that within the sort of hour to hour and a half radius of Cape Town, you've got a lot of tourist attractions. But it's been built up over years of infrastructure. But their challenge is the wind, and the opening of the harbour creates a challenge for arrival of vessels. So you've got the counter problem in Cape Town. And those two infrastructure challenges need to be addressed, but they need to be addressed as a holistic solution. What do we do to bring the guests, but what do we do with those guests beyond arrival? The cruise industry globally is looking to have a 40% reduction in emissions by 2030 and to be carbon neutral by 2050. So MSC currently, in the latest sustainability stats that we've released, is 37.8% towards its target from 2008 to 2030. So we're well within the target of reaching 40% reduction in our emissions. We've done about 6.9% this year. We've reduced the per literage usage of each guest from 226 litres per day to 186. And also we are self-sufficient in terms of water from our advanced water treatment desalination plants on board the vessel. That allows us the opportunity to create our own water, so we're not a burden on the respective land-based ports. In addition, we have ship-to-shore power on our vessels, which allow us the opportunity to plug into the grid and then not have the emissions that go forward with the burning of your diesel oil within the generator. And finally, our LNG-powered ships now number 3, and our fourth one is coming now in September. So MSC World Europa, Explorer 1 and Euribia were 3 of our brand new LNG vessels. And Euribia actually was the first carbon neutral cruise from Le Havre to Amsterdam that's ever occurred due to carbon offset credits. So LNG is the largest commercially available sustainable fuel. Although it's still a carbon-based fuel, the emissions are reduced by in the region of up to 90 to 95%. So our commitment on this basis is to really try and improve the sustainability of the business and to look at the environmental considerations and impacts that we have. We do a lot locally as well in terms of looking at our islands, in terms of our footprint and ensuring that we're ecologically sound. We are monitoring the turtles at Portuguese Island to make sure that all of those aspects are considered and create a sustainable business that can be looked at into the future.